Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today we are talking about Warbreaker, chapter 4, 5, 6, and 7. Wherein Ciri arrives at Tetalier. She sees some lifeless for the first time. Colors are everywhere. She travels through the city into the area of the returned god folk, and she is told that she's already married. There's no ceremony, and that she is there only at the king's will. So that's great. Vasher watches Ciri arrive. He uses some cool magic to make something lower him down off the wall where he was watching her. He goes and has a discussion at a bar. His sword kills some more people because of course it does. And then we're back with Ciri, who's led into the palace. She's basically molested many times. Maybe a better word for that would be she's washed, bathed, stripped, embarrassed, all sorts of awful things happening to her. She lays down in the next chapter waiting for the God King to summon her for sexual intercourse. Don't we just love that? And then we're back with Lightsong and some politics be brewing. So that's what we're looking at this week. My name is Joe, and with me as always is
Jamie,
Jack,
and Data.
Yes, we're all here, so hang on to something, everyone. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
To emerge and to breathe anew, for a purpose so far from my own. And this world I've awoken to seems familiar but somehow unknown. And the branches of gold on the skyline reach out to the sweep of the stars. The beginnings and endings of lifetimes, a guidance of light from afar. Down, down,
So yeah, it really is kind of almost entirely the Ciri show in these chapters. It's got a little bit of other people, but I don't think we have a single Vivenna sighting even. So what did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
I'm definitely intrigued by these chapters. The Ciri stuff was sad. I was telling Data that before the podcast. I was like, I think everything that's happening to her right now is just sad, and it continues to be sad. And so there were some cool things that we found out about powers and the world at large in this section. So that was fun. So yeah, Vasher, I mean, he seems like an interesting guy. Definitely want to know more. Nightblood seems like a crazy sword that just wants to kill people. So that's interesting. And then yeah, we meet some new characters. Another returned person, a lady who's into politicking, I guess. A little concerned about her future and the rule that they have there in Hallandren, in Tetalier. And so without getting into specifics, I feel like I can just say that, yeah, this is cool. I like everything so far. I was getting a very positive sense when I was reading these chapters that I think I'm really going to enjoy this book. And so I'm excited to see if that holds. Some of the previous books we've read, none of them are bad, but some of the previous books I've read, it's been kind of a slog, but I'm really enjoying reading this so far. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I'm going to call that a better sign than the opposite, at least. So that's
sure. Yeah. Well of Ascension, I was in for a penny in for a pound at that point, but I honestly would have to say that if I had picked up Well of Ascension after reading the first book on my own without the podcast, I probably would have been like, I don't care anymore. I'm just putting this book down. So yeah, this is definitely putting the intrigue in my brain. So I'm excited.
Yeah, there's lots of little things happening. You got the beginning of us exploring some of the politics of the court of the returned gods, with not only with Lightsong and Blushweaver, but a little bit with Vasher even, where he's talking to one of these priests. So there's some stuff happening.
Yeah, so I would agree. I'm still really liking this book. Yeah, I think I'm enjoying it. So I'm really liking these chapters too. I think this book is quite cool. I like that we're being drip-fed information, but not it's not too slowly. So I'm interested in what's happening next, but I don't feel like I'm so overwhelmed by the information. Oh gosh, I feel for Ciri. Holy moly. That's horrific to have not been prepared for any of it, to then be thrown into exactly what you were fearing and then probably 10 times worse. That poor girl. And now, I don't know, I think I had this like thought that maybe he wouldn't be as awful as everyone was saying, but I feel like maybe he is going to be. I don't know why I go into these things thinking that someone might actually be a good person and it was all kind of for nothing. But yeah, he really does seem like scum. But I enjoy her stubbornness. It's like, you know what? I can out-stubborn you. This is all right. I will do this. Like, she should never have to be in that position anyway, but I feel, not that we know too much about Vivenna, but I don't know that she would have been able to handle that. Like, I feel like all the preparation in the world actually wouldn't make you okay with that situation. So that's a thing. Lightsong and his dream, again, being brought up, that's going to play into it somehow, for sure. It never even occurred to me that Returned could be female as well. So I don't know why. I just assumed they were gods and, you know, this god being a bit of a dick. Well, not Lightsong, the other guy, the main one, the God King. I just thought it would be beneath him to have Returned that are women. Just doesn't seem like a thing that he'd want. But anyway, it was interesting to see her show up. But I'm definitely interested to learn more about Lightsong. I think him and maybe, I don't know whether we'll get into his past life or not, but that sounds cool. I love the relationship he's got with Scoot. They just seem like they're always fun to read together. Yeah, good. Enjoyed it. Excited where it's going. Oh, Nightblood, that sword. He's a bit crazy. I'm gonna go with he, but yeah, that sword is insane.
I like that you mentioned, because it's one of the first things that always comes to my mind reading this part of the book is like, we see how Ciri is doing and we know Vivenna is the one who is supposed to be here. So I'm always like, how would Vivenna have handled the same thing with her like 22 years of preparation? Would she have been expecting to like have to kneel on the floor for hours on end, or would she just? She seems a lot more proud than Ciri, so I'm just like, I also think maybe you're right. Maybe this is not the kind of thing that she would handle well.
Yeah, but also we don't know what she was taught. Like, maybe she was fully prepared for it. Maybe she practiced being just so quiet and in the background and not looking at anyone. Like, when was it Bluefingers is like, you know all the protocols, like you know what to do, and it's like, no you don't. Okay, excellent. We haven't had 22 years to basically beat it out of you that you can't look at him or anything like that. Now this girl is just in there absolutely terrified. Vivenna's now going to come after her based on what we read last week, so maybe she would be strong enough. I don't know, but I just feel like her character, what we sort of met of her first, she's too soft, but maybe she is super strong. I don't know.
I like the idea that they have like a whole book of protocols or something, and they sent it to Idris to be like, you guys need to read this before you send a girl here. Just, this is important stuff. But
also, wouldn't you then like be like, maybe there's another way? Maybe I don't have to serve up my daughter, either one of my daughters, to a complete monster.
You would think that, and it's just, that's another one of the things, is like Ciri has such confidence in her dad in this chapter. It's like, oh, my dad wouldn't have sent me if he didn't think I was the best.
Maybe he thinks I'll be able to, make the difference here. Maybe I'm the stronger one. Maybe, it's like, no, he literally just didn't want to send your sister.
Poor child. Yeah.
You poor thing. But at least she doesn't know that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is fun chapters, getting into the meat of things. I think my favorite character at this point is the Sword, just because he's so far removed from anything else we've seen so far. So yeah, like he's a lot of fun. But yeah, poor Ciri and everything she's going through. Like, no control over anything. Told, you can't even talk to him or he will kill you. And that's what makes that is what makes me think Vivenna was not as prepared as she thinks she was, because she was like, oh, I can get him to get my husband to change his mind and he won't attack us. And it's like, you weren't going to even be allowed to talk to him. So yeah, let's not delve too deep into that. But yeah, just a horrific ordeal that Ciri went through, and is, I don't know. I hope this book isn't too much on like she just gets the humiliation line. I don't think it will, but man, it was just uncomfortable. And yeah, I really like I have no idea what Vash is up to, but I really like just watching him do his thing. Like the whole thing with like going down the wall on the ribbon. I'm just like, man, you are good at this. I want to know more. Where did you come from? How'd you get this finesse with these powers?
Yeah, he is a mystery, right? Especially since other than Lightsong, who we intentionally are not allowed to know anything about his past. Like Vivenna, Ciri, we know all sorts of details about their entire history because it's not that complicated. But Vasher, he's just a big mystery.
Yeah, brutal, and yeah, God only knows what's going on with this guy, and I can't wait to find out more. Yeah, Lightsong story. I'm like, yeah, this is all right. I do like his relationship with Scoot. I think Blushweaver is just kind of okay. You're the femme fatale for this book. I find mentally I'm drawing a lot of comparisons to Final Empire with this book. You know, you've got like the psychotic God King who we may not be seeing for a while because he's hidden in the shadows, and like I don't know, he might actually not even be there. You've got, you know, it's like, yeah, the femme fatale, like with Blushweaver, like, oh, it's just she's the Channel Ariel. Vasher has quite a few similarities to Kelsia. So yeah, I don't know. There are quite a few similarities to Final Empire. I'm just like coming up with as I read, and it's like, all right. So I'd be curious to see where the divergence happens for each of these characters.
It only occurred to me while you were talking about it, but the God King sitting in the shadows and stuff in that scene makes me think of True Lies.
Yes, yeah, I can totally see that.
And so now in my head he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. So. Okay, all right, let's actually before we get into it, there's one thing I want to hit off the top so that everyone knows, and also so I don't forget when we get to the end. Next week we are not going to have a new episode because Joe is in a play and I am going to see that play, and so that's 50% of us unavailable. And then the week after that, the plan is that we will do one without Joe because he will still be doing his play that week, but at least I will be here. And so for next week, no new episode, just letting you guys know off the top so that if anyone turns us off when we finish talking about the book and doesn't want to hear the rest, they won't miss this. So let's do this. Let's get into these chapters. So we start out chapter 4 with Ciri arriving at Talir, the capital of Halandren, and it is big. And it is colorful, and there are 40,000 dudes just standing in brightly colored uniforms with spears raised, tassels flapping in the wind. She's like, okay, yeah, my people don't understand ostentatious. Like, flowers are not ostentatious. This is ostentatious. Even the city walls, which are these huge walls, she feels look more decorative than anything else.
I feel like this poor girl. It's like, oh my God, we're not allowed to show any emotion. And this is why, like, this is so not the same thing.
Yeah, right. It's like they're afraid if I pick flowers or if I get happy and am loud that we're going to turn into this. Really? And I don't think we knew much about Talir before now, but you find out that it's kind of like it's right on the edge of the Bright Sea, which is a large landlocked body of water, it says. And so the wall is kind of a semicircle because the city's right up against the sea. And then we meet Trelades, High Priest of His Immortal Majesty, Susabron the Grand.
Ugh, this asshole.
You will accept this token honor guard to guide you to the court of gods. It's not even a question. He's like, you're going to be taking this honor guard. Just do it. And so that's when one of the soldiers that is escorting her notices that these 40,000 soldiers are all lifeless. And we find out a little bit about the lifeless. They have gray skin, eyes, hair, all completely drained of color, leaving them with like this monochrome look. And so she thinks about how she always imagined, like she knew lifeless were like dead bodies that have been brought back to be useful. But she imagined them like skeletons, like zombies basically, with like the flesh falling from their bones or whatever. But no, they look almost like normal people except for the no color. And she's like, I have to marry one of these. And then we get a little, I think, drab. I don't remember if we'd heard that term earlier, but she differentiates for us that lifeless are these like dead bodies that have been sort of returned to a useful state. We have returned, which is a different thing. And then we have drabs, which is a different thing again, which is a person who does not have any breath. Capital B breath. They can breathe.
Right.
And it even mentions like we had returned in Idris like one time. I wasn't allowed to see him, but I heard that he was perfectly able to interact with people, and he didn't remember his family, and then he died after a week. So the first annotation that I want to touch on is it says, yes, there are returned in Idris. There are returned everywhere in this world that there are people. And this is where he says the name of the world is Nalthis, by the way. I'd like someday to do a sequel to Warbreaker, in part because I want to show off all the different ways people on Nalthis deal with the returned. They're treated in very strange ways in some places. For instance, just across the mountains, there's a kingdom where when someone dies in a way that might be heroic, the corpse is immediately purchased by a nobleman hoping to hit the jackpot and get a returned. And
that's weird.
It'll make more sense a little bit as we continue. But that is just such a random way. Like they're auctioning corpses off.
It's interesting. I mean, some would see them as like a commodity, but then you'd have some which I imagine Idris would be like, well, that's basically your curse. Like they clearly let the guy die rather than giving him breath of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So the different cultures and their different like ideals and morality and all that sort of stuff would be very interesting as to how they treat them differently. I think that would be really interesting to read.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, how would we handle people just like randomly coming back to life? I don't even know. So yes, they go in through the door. There's cavalrymen also, and they don't appear to be lifeless, so they go with her. And she sees all the people coming to see her carriage, her procession. They're all dressed in these bright colors, and she's like, if some of these people are poor, I can't tell the difference. Everyone is dressed in like these very bright, nice colors. And this is where she's like, maybe this is why my dad sent me. Like, Vivenna would not fit in here, but I've always been interested in color. So maybe he really thinks that I can do a good job here. And she even, despite the fact that she was like very upset when she first got sent, he's like, is this why for the first time in my life, my father chose me over Vivenna for something? Like she thinks that like she's been favored by her father in a way here, which is exactly the opposite of the truth. She's like, her father was a good king with good instincts. Okay.
You keep telling yourself that.
Right. And we learned that, we got this big city with a giant wall around it. Within the city, there's a smaller area with a big wall around it. And that's where the court of the gods is. And even when they open the door, there's another wall in front of the door so that no one looking in when the door is open can see what's happening. They're very, very private, these gods. Except apparently in a minute we learn that Vasher can just like get up on the wall and look at what's going on in there and no one does anything about it. Maybe no one notices, except people do notice when he comes back down. So I don't know. And so inside this giant walled courtyard, there are, I think it says several dozen enormous mansions, each one painted a distinct color. And then at the end is a pyramid made of giant step-like blocks, and it's all black. And so, of course, she's going for the giant black pyramid, not intimidating at all.
Made me think of Destiny. There's lots of black pyramids in Destiny.
Oh, yeah? And okay, so Trelides comes back and he's like, we've arrived, vessel. As soon as we enter the building, you will be prepared and taken to your husband. And she's like, wait, so is there not like a ceremony or something? The God King does not need ceremonial justification. You became his wife the moment he desired it. Wow, all right then. She's like, I was hoping that maybe I could like see him before. The God King does not perform for your whims, woman. You are blessed above all others, for you will be allowed to touch him, if only at his discretion. Do not pretend that you are anything other than you are. So this is very, like literal objectification, because they're like calling her vessel and they're like, you just do whatever he wants.
Yeah, this is great. This is what she wanted, I think.
Yeah. And he's like, you do whatever he tells you to, or he wants you to do. And if you don't, then you'll be put aside and somebody else will be chosen. And I think that might bode unfavorably for your rebel friends in the Highlands. So he's very straightforward with his threats. And that's when Vasher, who is standing up on the walls, thinks like this is going to complicate things. And Nightblood, who's apparently up on politics, is just like, so the rebels sent a princess. That didn't change your plans, which we still don't get. We're not allowed to know his plans, but he has some plans, apparently. And Vasher thinks that I doubt we'll be able to get through this without dealing with her. He hadn't believed the Idrians would actually send royal blood back to Talir. They'd given up a pawn of terrible value. And I don't think, based on what we know about the political situation, it seems all that valuable, but we're going to learn more. And so he commands a banner or tapestry to lower me, and awakens it it says hundreds of breaths, because it's not in human form at all. But when it awakens and picks him up and lowers him, it looks like a human hand. If you look closely, you can even see like what looks like muscles and veins outlined. And then he takes his breath back once he's back in the street. And we get this thing about like, people notice when you have a giant tapestry lower you from the top of a wall in the middle of the city. But it's not that strange for Talir. Men with upwards of 1,000 breaths were uncommon, but not unheard of. And so he's like, I'm going to get noticed here, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I got to get used to it again. He has a rope that he wears as a belt tied several times around his waist. I like that note. But the sword does stick out a little bit. And he's like, man, maybe I need to put this back in the pack. And Nightblood's like, no, you don't. Don't even think about that. I need fresh air and sunlight. And he's like, you're a sword. And he had things like, Nightblood was smart enough to realize he was not a person, but he didn't like being confronted with that fact.
Oh, don't tell me that. I'm not a sword.
I'm a real boy.
You're a sword.
You're a cigarette. And so he goes to a restaurant, and we got to think about how restaurants are a thing, and they're not in a lot of places. And he sets his sword down, and it says the sword was stolen within a minute of him letting go of it. But he just ignores that as the waiter brings him his warm tea. And then we meet a priest.
Joke's on you, assholes.
Yeah, no shit. We meet a priest of Bright Vision the True, who shows up, and Vasher has some sort of dirt on this guy, and he's forcing him to give him information. But Bebed, the priest, is not providing a whole lot of information, at least not as far as Vasher is concerned. And he's like, I took an oath. I can't, tell you the secrets about the court of the gods. And he's like, Vasher's like, get off it. Like, everyone knows that the return can't so much as look at each other without half the city learning about it within an hour. And so there are rumors that something is going on here beyond normal court politics. There's a faction among the court that is pushing for war with Idris. And this particular priest is like, I can't imagine why. And Vasher's like, well, I mean, it makes lots of sense. It's like, Halandrin has reason to go up there and kill those people. They were called rebels, but those rebels were the true Halandrin royal family. Any good monarch knew that the first thing you did to stabilize your throne was to execute anyone who had a better claim to it than you did. But Bebed does not think that the war would go as simply as some parties are making it out to be. He's like, Idris has allies, and they won't be easy to beat. And what people are saying is going to be an easy victory could spin out into another many war. Do you want that? Thousands upon thousands dead, kingdoms falling to never rise again. Also, we can grab a little bit of frozen land nobody really wants. And so it's interesting, like, these different perspectives, because we heard the Idris perspective before, where they don't want to fight, but they are certain that there is a war coming. And all they can do is, like, hold it off long enough to try to prepare. Whereas this priest is like, why would we want to waste time and energy on that? Like, we don't get anything that's worth the trouble that it would take. This isn't about money, it's about fear. People in the court talk about what might happen if the Adrians cut off the passes, or what may happen if they let enemies slip through. If it were about money, we'd never go to war. Halandrin thrives on its dye and textiles trade. And do you think that would boom during a war? We'd be lucky not to suffer full economic collapse. So yeah, war would not be great for Halandrin, according to this guy. And Idris certainly doesn't think it would be good for them. So why are we having a war?
Sounds like the threat of war is just a good way to keep people in check.
Might be. And so Vasher's like, I don't really care about your economics. Like, all right. Yeah, I forgot who I was talking to. What do you want? And Vasher wants to know about the rebels within the city. And Bebed's like, I really can't tell you much about that. And he's like, well, what about the factions that you mentioned, the ones that are pushing for war? And Bebed says, I won't help you enrage the... And Vasher's like, don't presume to tell me what to do. Just give me the information. And he's like, I don't really know. My lady isn't interested in those kind of politics. I don't move in the right circles. Maybe one of Mercy Star's priests could let you know, or you could try Bluefingers. He's the High Palace Steward, head of the scribes, and he pretty much runs the court. If anyone knew about that faction, it will be him. And we're going to meet Bluefingers shortly. So, and Vasher leaves, tells the guy, pay the waiter when you leave, and takes off. And he can feel a darkness as he goes outside, and he turns down an alley, and there's Nightblood still sheathed, sticking from the chest of the thief who had stolen him, with another guy dead in the alley. And he goes to get him, and Nightblood chastises him. Like, you lost your temper. I thought you were going to work on that. I guess I'm relapsing. I don't think you ever unlapsed. That's not a word. Their conversation, Nightblood is so much fun. And Nightblood's like, I mean, you talk to that guy a lot. That's not really how I would have handled it. Like, well, yeah, I mean, your way would end up with more corpses. And Nightblood says, well, I am a sword. May as well stick with what I'm good at. That's hilarious and disturbing, like deeply disturbing at the same time, that this thing has some sort of power to kill people. And he's just like, I mean, that's what I do, right? So it's all good.
The feeling he's just going to be like, yeah, that's why you keep me around, dude. Let's not pretend otherwise.
Maybe. It certainly would be easier to beat your enemies if you could, like, throw the sword at them and then leave and come back later and they're all dead.
Wait, I'm a sword, not a boomerang.
And so we cut to Lightsong and Scoot, and they're having a discussion about their new queen. It's apparently been 30 years since there was a queen in the court of the gods. I like Larimar's like, she's only 17 years old. I can't imagine being married to the God King at her age. And Lightsong, I can't imagine you being married to the God King at any age, Scoot. So there's one little thing about Lightsong that I was going to read out of the annotations. It's that one of the inspirations that Brandon had is that he wanted a character that would fit into an Oscar Wilde play. He says, I'm a big fan of Wilde's work, particularly the comedies, and I've always admired how he can have someone be glib and verbally dexterous without coming across as a jerk. He's like, that kind of character works differently in a play than in a book. Like in a book, you need like depth and character arcs that you don't have in a play. But that was sort of one of the genesis points of Lightsong. He wanted this Oscar Wilde type character.
It's a very specific thought.
Right? I know. And then he starts to think more about, like, something starts coming to him about his dream. He thinks about, like, sailing, he can smell the sea, and then he remembers that it was red. The sea was red because it was reflecting Tutelier engulfed in flames. Also, the boat was on fire. And he doesn't tell Larimar, the guy in charge of writing down his dreams, because they might have potential prophetic ramifications. He thinks, yeah, I'll tell him about it tomorrow. And I was just like, this seems maybe a little bit important. Maybe you should mention it. But who knows? Maybe their dreams aren't actually in any way prophetic. Like, just be what they tell them. Although they're so interested in getting the dreams, I feel like they must be getting something out of them. And Lightsong has a line where he's like, I hate politics so much. Do you think I could bribe one of the other gods to take control of my lifeless commands? And Larimar's like, I doubt that would be wise. It's all part of my master plan to ensure I become totally and redundantly useless. Redundantly useless? Well, yeah, I mean, regular uselessness isn't enough. I am, after all, a god. War, in my divine opinion, is even worse than politics. Some say the two are the same, Your Grace. Nonsense. War is far worse. At least where politics is going on, there are usually nice hors d'oeuvres. I do like Lightsong's flippantness. And then he shows that maybe he does know a little bit about the politics of what's going on, because he's like, here's the thing. The Idrians don't think of themselves as rebels. They're not sitting up there waiting to come back and take the city. This isn't where they live. This isn't their home any longer. Apparently, it hasn't been for like 300 years. So that's what we find out later. And Larimar's like, okay, but what about the Idrian dissidents that supposedly in the city rousing people against the court of the gods? And Lightsong's like, that's just rumors. So when I'm proven wrong and the underprivileged masses storm the palace and burn me at the stake, I'll be sure to inform them that you were right all along. You'll get the last laugh, or, well, maybe the last scream, since you'll probably be tied up beside me. We find out Lightsong cannot get drunk, but he keeps drinking the wine anyway. I'm very good at pretending, he says, and that's the end of that chapter. We cut back to Ciri, who gets out of the carriage, so not long after we last saw her, and she sends her soldiers back to Idris. She's like, there's nothing more you can do for me here. And now she's all alone. And they begin preparing her. And it's just so bizarre to me that, like, they lead her into the maroon room where everything is maroon. And there's tubs with warm water, and the women start taking her clothes off, and she kind of fights them, and they're surprised at first, and then they just get more aggressive about it. And they're like, no, we're getting these clothes off, damn it. And then they wait for her to get into the water, and she's like, oh, good, I'll be allowed to wash myself. And then several of them get in, fully clothed, to start washing her. And it's just such a bizarre scene to me. And then all of a sudden, there's a dude here who's like, oh, good, we're right on schedule. And she freaks out. Is something wrong? I'm bathing. Yeah, I believe I can tell that. Why are you watching? And he's like, confused. He's like, what? I'm a royal servant. I'm beneath your. Oh, right. You're from Idris. Y'all are all like prudes. I get it. It's fine. Ladies, splash around and make more bubbles.
Which in reality, it's like, even if you're not a prude, I don't get his argument. I guess the argument is, I'm so far beneath you, you shouldn't take notice of me looking at you because it doesn't matter. But like, in all reality, I don't know. I see this as a weird cultural thing that's specific to them, because would you want servants to look at you naked even if they were way beneath you? I feel like you still wouldn't, but whatever.
I mean, I wouldn't.
It's actually okay to want to bathe privately. That's a completely normal thing. Poor girl.
Yeah, I mean, how outrageous of her to be like, I can wash myself. No, you need 5 other women in the tub with you washing you, and dudes just standing there talking. It would not do to keep the God King waiting on his wedding day, he tells her. As you might guess, we're on a very tight schedule. She's like, who are you? And he says, my name is Haverseth, but everyone calls me Blue Fingers. And he holds up his hands are stained with blue ink from all the scribing he does. I make sure everyone stays on schedule and does what they're supposed to. They're getting a gown ready for you. I presume you've been taught the proper method of treating his immortal majesty, which, yeah, you guys mentioned this earlier, but is one of my favorite moments where she looks at him and she's like, I mean, they probably did teach me, but I don't remember because I wasn't paying any attention. And he figures it out very quickly from her expression. He's like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting then. Let me give you some suggestions, not instructions, because as he mentions, she's really far above him. He's not going to tell her what to do exactly, but he's going to suggest. So basically, the God King, his will is law. He doesn't need to justify anything. All of our lives he could have if he felt like it. You're not allowed to talk to him, okay? She's like, I can't talk to my husband? No, none of us are allowed to talk to him. And apparently he doesn't do that much like king stuff. It says the day-to-day governance is below his notice. The Council of the Gods handles that sort of thing.
So what even is the point?
Right, exactly. It is unconventional that you are allowed to touch him. She's like, I mean, we're going to be having sex, so probably. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's weird. Just try not to touch him too much.
So, you can touch him, just not too much.
If you speak directly to the God King, he will order you executed.
I like how there's no question to him about that. It's not like he'll probably do that or he might do that. It's like, no, if you speak directly to him, he's going to execute you.
It sounds like this is something he's seen before, but that could just be my guess. Because, yeah, he does seem so certain. The doctrines teach that the earth itself is too base for him. He is one who achieved transcendence before he was even born and then returned to bring his people blessings and visions.
But how? If no one can talk to him or touch him or interact with him in any form, does he just write down his visions and give them to Blue Fingers? Like, I'm so confused. He's so divine and you can sit there and do all these things.
Yeah.
But there's no way of it happening.
This is a terrific question. Yeah.
Sir, we've received another message by a royal paper airplane.
I love that. To imagine he just like sits there and when he thinks of something, he like writes it down and throws the paper airplane and
like he just has a hole on the floor next to his desk and he just drops it through.
No, he's like sitting in a window at a window at the very top of the pyramid and he throws it out the window and one of his priests has to run and get it.
He gets really angry and starts murdering people. And they're just like, why? What have we done to piss him off? We didn't meet one of his demands. It was a very breezy day. The plane blew away. We couldn't catch it in time.
It blew out to sea. Yep. And so the women, the servants, aren't supposed to speak during their hours of service. Their duty is to be as useful as possible without being distracted. Which that reminds me a little bit of like her religion back there where you're not supposed to draw attention to yourself. So after they soap her up, she has to get into a tub of cooler water to wash the soap off, and then another tub of perfumed water. He's like, I mean, if you'd rather, we can have a masseuse rub the perfume into your body, but we have time constraints. So
there's always that option.
Yeah. His Majesty is associated with no single hue. So the other gods all have like their color. Their mansion is that color. Their servants wear that color. All the colors go to the God King. So he just, as they start progressing through rooms, they go from the maroon room to like, what is the next room? It's like a different color.
It's like a yellow room or something. Yeah. Like really bright yellow.
So it seems like the most bizarre, bright yellow. It's the most bizarre palace or pyramid or whatever, where you, once again, hallways are for poor people. So they go from room to room and each room is one color. And just vastly different, like maroon to yellow. It's just like a big weird shift from as you move between rooms.
Sounds like someone could have used an interior designer to really work on a nice way of tying the colors together in a room rather than needing the rooms to be all different colors. I was renting a house a few years ago, and no joke, each room had a color theme. And yeah, the kitchen was like bright yellow, bathroom was green. It was just, I don't know what they were thinking.
It was something.
Yeah.
I had a friend who decided they were going to paint their house, and they kind of did that where like the little girl's room was pink, but it had like they used some sponges to do like textured trees on the wall in that room, which made sense. It was a little girl's room. The office was a green color, and then the living room they made a not like super bright, not like neon yellow, but a pretty bright yellow. And so they spend a couple days painting the entirety of the living room in this yellow color. And after it's all done, she stands back and looks at it and goes, "No, I don't like it. We're gonna repaint this one."
Oh no. I definitely think rooms can have their own color and their own features, and that's fine. But it's the garishness of this place that we saw was just out of control.
It is kind of out of control. And then back to the yellow room. They start trying to comb her hair after it's been washed, and it's a lot of snarls and stuff. So she's like, just cut it off. And one of them actually speaks for the first time, like, "Vessel?" They say, "No, cut it off. It's fine." And so not only does her hair change colors with her emotions, but she can make it grow.
And this was weird to me. I mean, obviously we're supposed to be shocked as readers at this point because we've had nobody's told us that this is a thing. But it's like you might tell them before you have them shear it off that you can grow it back. Also, I wanted to know how much they cut off because she's like, "Just cut it off," and I'm like, "Wait, how much? All of it? Some of it? None of it? Like just the tangles at the bottom? What are we talking about here?"
The God King likes hair. I'm not about to cut off his wife's hair.
But has he ever told you he likes hair?
Well, yeah, through a paper airplane, yes. We've talked about what sort of misborn powers and all that sort of stuff, and you always get what sort of superpower would you want. Nope, I want to be able to regrow my hair like that. That's my power.
Would you care if you had that penalty though, that it would change color with your emotions?
I'd take it if I could control it even a little bit. As long as I'm not like in fear all the time, it'd be cool. It'd save a lot of money at the hairdresser.
Well, and it sounds like you can learn to control
the
color change. Like, if you can keep your emotions in check, you can learn to control that part.
Yeah. Also, if I'm terrified for my life, I don't care what color my hair is at that point.
Yeah, right. Like, it'll be obvious I'm terrified for my life. I'm not worried about you knowing it.
Like, not only would you save money, I feel like you could even make money. It's like, I don't like the hair. Cut it off, sell it to a wig shop, grow it back in a better style.
It's true.
Yeah.
I wonder if it stays the last color that it was when they cut it off, or how that works.
That's interesting. Also, I feel like it'd be good for disguises. Like, it's like, oh, today, if you're part of the royal line that's like the black sheep of the family, you decide to be like a thief or something. It's like, today I'm gonna have blonde hair and it's gonna be this long and I'm gonna be doing these things.
I wonder if the men can do that with like their facial hair.
Oh, that's a good question.
That would help with the disguise. You'd grow a big beard all of a sudden.
Yeah, or what if Ciri's like, "I don't want the God King to touch me today. I'm gonna grow my leg hair out really long."
It's just like a Chewbacca walking down the street. It's like, "Oh my God, is that a Wookiee?" Nah, that's just someone who just wanted to grow all the hair.
No, that's the Queen, man.
Oh, another purpose. Could you actually stop it growing? Because if I could also not grow my leg hair, that would be amazing.
Well, lot of convenient possibilities there. Agreed. Yeah, I didn't have to shave all the time. I could just not grow it. That'd be great.
That would be fantastic.
But apparently in Halandrin, currently long hair is in style. In Idris, it's the custom to keep it bound up, I guess, so you don't draw attention to yourself. But here, letting your hair just go and flow is very popular with the women, especially the goddesses. And so she's tempted to keep her hair short just out of spite in retaliation for that. But she's like, "No, fine." And so they start doing her nails and her hair and stuff. And she has to sit here and think, like, not how I imagined my wedding day. I definitely don't want to be married now. I want to be in the hills picking flowers and such. But at least she knows the physical requirements, thanks to Mab the cook for some candid discussions on that point.
Oh, boy.
She wanted to run, hide, flee as far as she could. Did all women feel this way, or was it only those who were being washed, primped, and sent to please a deity with the power to destroy nations?
That would be a very select few on that list, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Bluefingers brings a healer to confirm that she has no STDs and that she is still a maiden. And he's like, "Yeah, I had a young healer scheduled, but because of your, sensitivities, I brought an older guy."
I also like, which I mean, I get
Terrifying.
it based on, terrifying for sure. But based on like what he says later, I like how he's like, I'm pretty sure she's still a maiden.
Yeah. And the doctor, he says, no, she's fine. Also, she has a very strong breath. And that's when she realizes, she looks closer and she can see the yellow around him is like pops, is more strong than the rest of the room. And she's like, he's an awakener. An awakener touched me. Oh, God. Like, I feel more naked now than when I was naked. This is, yeah. Is he going to try to steal my breath? I mean, she tried to breathe as shallowly as possible, just in case. Which just, even us, who we've only read 4 chapters of the book or whatever, we know that it doesn't work that way, that they have to give it to you willingly, that they were torturing a guy specifically because they can't just take it. So it just shows us how, like, kind of uninformed they are in Idris about how these things work.
Yeah. Awakeners do not work that way.
She's like, is the God King going to try to steal my breath? Probably not, at least not until I provide an heir. And so finally they come out and they have this gorgeous gown of blue and silver, which they put on, and she's going to just take off in like 5 minutes. But she sees it, like, I guess they've done like some makeup or something also, because it says that, she's seeing all these colors in her own face that she's never seen before, like her lips and her cheeks, and just everything is like the mysteriously dark eyes, the blue on her eyelids. She's like, I look amazing. Thank you.
It sounds a little garish, honestly. The
Their whole
description.
culture. Yeah.
It's a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
And so,
Homer, you've got it stuck on whore.
You also you don't put red lips and blue eyeshadow together. It just that's a big faux pas.
Yeah, those girls on YouTube doing those makeup tutorials are like, ugh.
Okay, sorry. Like Bluefingers tells her, you are here to see to his needs, not mine, not your own, not our kingdom. You are here for him. So just don't offend him. What's going to happen is you're going to walk in, you're going to take off your dress and your underclothing, you're going to bow down, and you're going to wait there with your head touching the floor until he knocks on a post to tell you that he wishes you to approach. Just try not to touch him too much. And also, when you're done, the king's going to leave, and then you're supposed to take all the bed linens and burn them. No one else is allowed to touch them. Very specific. But okay.
I do feel like all the times he's talking to her, it does seem like he knows she's got a rough deal, and like he's not like the other guy who was just treating her like shit. Mm-hmm. This guy's kind of like, he's trying to give her as much advice as he can so she will be okay by the end of it, while still, he's like, just like, look, I don't want you to get killed doing this. You got to do it, so I'm going to give you all the information I have to make sure it goes smoothly, because you shouldn't have to die.
Yeah, it's probably in all our best interest that you not die. So let's.
What gets me about it is just like, well, all of it. It's obviously all terrible.
It's horrifying, yeah.
But it's like, also, who wrote all these protocols? This guy has never had a queen before. Like, who came up with all of these things that she could and couldn't do?
Well, they said they had a queen 30 years ago, so it might have been like the previous God King or something had a queen, or.
Oh, I was under the impression that before they did not have this returned God King, that it was a different monarch with a completely different set of rules, and they weren't like returned rulers. But maybe I'm wrong.
That's a good point.
It
may not have called.
I got.
Okay.
Because technically, these people somehow, which Blushweaver mentions, it's like, why do we need an original royal family member from 300 years ago to legitimize the rule that we have right now? So that's a good point. Like this current king has never had a queen, apparently, and that I don't know how long this person has been king. It sounds like a long time, but anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. So yeah, who's making this stuff up? Maybe it's that Trellides guy. He just comes up with all these great rules.
Yeah, it reminds me of this SNL sketch where it's a gynecologist, and he's like the Queen of England's gynecologist, and he's retiring, and so he's prepping the new gynecologist on all the things he can and cannot do when examining the Queen of England. That's what it reminds me of.
That is an interesting concept for a sketch. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's Martin Short playing the retired gynecologist, so he's ridiculous.
You can't be Martin Short and not be ridiculous.
It's true.
Like even in what's that thing that he did with Steve Martin recently? Only Murders in the Building.
Only Murders in the Building.
I was about to say he's in that, but they've done lots of stuff together. They have like a live show tour together right now.
Oh really? That's cool.
Interesting.
I would see that.
Is
I
that
don't
the
even
one we
like Martin
saw?
Short that much.
Not in real life, Dak, but was that the one we saw on like Netflix or something?
That
Or are
was
they
a few
touring
years
now?
ago.
Oh yeah, a bit of Martin and Short, I think is what that one's called.
That's
I think
funny.
I think that was like part of the live tour they did was that show, and then they've changed it as they've continued to tour.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Okay. So we're in a room with black walls, a massive bed, sheets and covers of black to match the rest of the room. So this is the black room.
That God King is a total goth.
Yeah. And so
Black his soul, apparently.
there's a big throne-like chair beside the bed, and it is occupied by a figure wearing black, bathed in darkness. He's watching her, eyes twinkling, unblinking in the firelight.
How did you make the fire black?
Right? Yeah.
Also creepy, man. Why you gotta stare at me like that?
Seriously. And this is where she's like, "Oh man, Vivenna should be doing this. I can't deal with this crap." And then she's like, "Am I taking too long to get undressed? Is he gonna kill me before I even start?" And so she does the thing where she's just like, she gets rid of all her clothes, she bows down onto the ground, puts her head on the floor, and just stays there. And time passes. A lot of time passes. And she has a lot of time to consider and reflect on what an asshole this guy is for making her lay here on the floor. It's like clearly some sort of power play where he wants to show her that she waits on his pleasure and not the other way around or whatever. She can feel those black eyes still watching her. Maybe this is a test. He wants to see how long I'll remain like I'm supposed to. Vivenna had training. Vivenna had poise and refinement. All I have is stubbornness. With time, she'd even broken down her father. He'd started letting her do as she pleased, if only to save his own sanity.
It's like, I can't deal with it anymore. Just do whatever you want.
And so we end her section with she continued to wait, naked in the light of the coals as the night wore on. And that's the last we see of Ciri for these chapters. So one interesting note from the annotations. Brandon says, one interesting thing to note is that my own wedding happened during the process of writing this book. I wrote this chapter before then, but I was engaged at the time. While working on the novel, I got to go through the entire progression of awkward moments of a wedding night myself. Yes, it was our first time by choice. I think that probably colored how I wrote Ciri's viewpoints throughout the entire book. So something to keep in mind as you're reading Ciri's viewpoints.
Yes, that talk he did at Dragonsteel, where he talks about, yeah, like your books are informed by where you are at a certain point in your life. That tracks.
Yep. He also mentions that, and you guys may have picked up on that whole thing is this whole section is a little bit more explicit than a lot of the stuff that we see from him. We don't see a lot of like nudity and stuff in his books so far, or even that much talk about sex. And so he's like, you could, if you were filming the scene, you could do it as like in PG or PG-13 or R, like just however you want to imagine it. But yeah, he usually shies away from that kind of thing a little bit. So we cut to Lightsong, who there's a big ass party happening because it's the God King's wedding day. Everyone's celebrating inside the Court of the Gods and outside. And in the Court of the Gods, the way it works is they call in all these different sort of entertainers. And then they set them over on the side, and the gods are like, I want that. And those guys come over and entertain the god in front of their palace until they get tired of him and they call somebody else. So right now he's got some fireworks dudes here, and they're shooting off fireworks to entertain him. And he's like, oh yeah, this is good. And he has to like give them some encouragement, like smile at them. It's like, okay, I want you guys to feel good, like you're entertaining me. He goes, you have pleased me.
It's such a weird, like, it's like you're doing this for me, but then I'm doing this for you to make you feel good about you doing this for me. It's just like the dynamic is just awkward. It's like, why can't we all just, agree that you're doing a good job, and I'm just gonna sit here and watch you. You don't have to like worry about it. You're doing a good job.
I feel like he's probably we don't know any of the other gods until we meet Blushweaver here, but I feel like he's probably different from the other ones to some degree, at least, in that he cares about how these guys feel.
Yeah, I know it hasn't been revealed, and maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I'd be interested to know how they get their like titles, as far as like she calls Lightsong the god of bravery later. It's like, why is he the god of bravery? Why are you the goddess? Why are you the goddess of honesty? Why?
Here is a part from the annotations dealing specifically relating to that question. He says, when developing the court of the gods, I wanted to design something that felt a little like a Greek pantheon, or rather a constructed one. Everyone is given their portfolio by the priest after they return. Blushweaver was given the portfolio of honesty and interpersonal relations, and over the 15 years of her rule, she's become one of the most dynamic figures in the court. Few remember it anymore, but she was successful at having her name changed during her first year. She used to be Blushweaver the Honest, and she became Blushweaver the Beautiful through a campaign and some clever politicking.
When they realized she wasn't honest.
It could be.
Yeah. She wasn't
This bitch a
honest
liar.
enough, so yeah. Yeah, we just figured she's pretty. Let's just give her that.
And Lightsong told us in the previous section that like the position they're giving, like him being the god of bravery, was supposedly related in some way to how he died. Because he was like, yeah, they say that the way I died was exemplified bravery in some way. And so I guess theoretically the way she died exemplified honesty.
It's like she committed a crime and she said, yep, I did that thing. And then they killed her for it. And then she came back.
Yeah, maybe. And so Scoot shows up and he's like, hey, are you enjoying the festivities, Your Grace? And Lightsong's like, I mean, yeah, I'm positively infested with them. What are you doing here? You should be out with your family. He's like, well, I just want to make sure everything was okay. You're giving me a headache, Scoot. You can't get headaches, Your Grace. I assume the revelry outside the holy prison is nearly as amazing as what we have in here. And he says that there hasn't been a party this amazing, in a festival this grand in decades. Like, then you should be out there enjoying it. Go, be with your family. If there's one thing you can trust me to do all by myself, it's enjoy myself.
I like this dynamic between them. It's funny. I really wish that Lightsong would just put it on Front Street, though. He should just be like, when he's like, you're giving me a headache, he should just be like, dude, you're annoying the shit out of me. Just go. I'm good.
I actually really like it's like, that's a normal thing. Somebody be like, oh, you're giving me a headache. And Scoot is always there to be like, well, but you're a god. You can't get headaches. It's like, it's an expression. Just go.
Yeah, it's an expression for you're annoying the shit out of me. Get out of here.
And as he leaves, he's like, that man takes himself far too seriously. Which he's the high priest of one of the gods of his people. I feel like that's probably a position that most people should take seriously.
Yeah. Some people don't like it when you take your job seriously.
And then here comes a newcomer, a goddess, glossy black hair, pale skin, lushly curvaceous body. Far less clothing than Lightsong did, but that was typical of the court's goddesses. Blushweaver, the Beautiful, goddess of honesty, and Lightsong's like, yeah, this should be interesting. And I like that she's strolling up, and there's like 30 servants following her, along with some priests. And then there's some guys just carrying a couch so that they can put it down so she can lay on the couch in like this like come hither sort of position. And meanwhile, the fireworks guys are like, oh my gosh, 2 gods now. We have to like double our effort here. And then they have a little back and forth between Blushweaver and Lightsong where she's like, oh, aren't you even going to greet me? And he's like, why would I go and do something rude like that? And then he goes through this whole thing about, you're trying so hard to impress me and like, you know, astound me, stun me with your beauty and your dress and is that makeup on your thighs? And she's like, no, it's like a kind of paint. I had some of my most talented priests painted on there. And he's like, well, if I'm supposed to be stunned and dazzled and dumbfounded, how would I greet you? Well, you've obviously found your tongue now. It was in my mouth, surprisingly. I always forget to check there. I also like that she's just like, so yeah, you want to go do it? And he's like, I mean, not necessarily. I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Well, we could do it after. I mean, I guess we could, but nah.
And yeah, it's apparently since gods can't have kids, it means that there's actually lots of sex going on. But sometimes between the gods, sometimes between gods and mortals, just whatever.
So, and this is where I got confused. I'm like, okay, if the gods can't have sex, or excuse me, if they can't have kids, does that mean the lady gods can't bear children, or that the male gods also can't make children? Because if that's the case, then how is this guy going to make an heir? The king.
Well, in the last section of chapters we read, it was specifically like he's the only one who can. And Jamie had a theory that maybe like all of the gods were the same as him, and it was kind of a lie that they were believing that they were different in some way. But if so, then
Yeah.
I mean,
If they're having sex
it seems to
all
imply
the
that they
time,
can't have kids, yeah, or not imply, it flat out says it.
Yeah, if they can't have if
Yeah.
they're having sex all the time, somebody would have had an uh-oh by this point.
Yeah, right.
Surely, yes. I think when I thought that, I was like, they're not really interacting with each other that much.
But clearly they are. So
Yep. We learn new things as we go. And he's like, nah, but I mean, I can't sleep with you. I'm too lazy. I can't let people find out that I'm like unlazy enough to do something like that.
It's the weirdest excuse ever. It's like, nah, I can't do it because I'm lazy, and that, I mean, what am I gonna do? Not be lazy?
It's like, yeah, I mean, it's just it's a whole thing, and she's kind of annoyed. He doesn't want to sleep with her, but also it's like, you slept with Calm Seer, but you ignore me. And he has the thought that Calm Seer was the last honorable return this city has known. Nobody left has a shred of her decency, including me.
And that begs the question: what happened to Comseer?
It does beg that question, right? We found out before now that there's, it's not always the same gods. Like back in Idris, he was like, yes, the newest crop of gods there are more unpredictable than their predecessors. So we cycle through these gods somehow. Don't know how yet. And so Lightsong notices that the fireworks are getting more and more extravagant, and he's like, maybe I should have them stop just so they have fireworks left in case one of the other gods wants them. But the reason that Blushweaver is here is that she wants to talk about politics. He's like, oh man, I don't want to talk about politics. She is one of the people who is in favor of war, and she feels that this whole thing with the queen is not, it does not bode well. We haven't had a queen of the royal line. Like Lightsong says, we've had queens before, and she says not of the royal line, at least not since the days of Khaled the Usurper. Khaled is the one who started the Many War. He used his knowledge of biochromatic breath to create a vast army of lifeless and seize power in Helandrin, shattered the kingdom, and drove the royals into the highlands.
Yeah, if Ciri's ancestors were driven into the highlands by an awakener, you can see why maybe they don't like those kinds of people.
Right? Yeah. Of the returned, only the God King can engender children, and they are always stillborn. And Blushweaver's like, well, yeah, but what if she has a kid that's not? What if she sleeps with somebody else and has a kid? How does that affect the line of succession here? And also, about that whole only the God King can have children and they're always stillborn, the only word that we have for that comes from the priests. And I've heard that there are discrepancies in the records. And why do we need one of them to legitimize our throne anyway? Isn't 300 years of rule by the court of the gods sufficient? And so 300 years ago, the royals ruled, then Khaled, and then after him, Peacegiver. Change can happen just that quickly. I don't intend to find myself caught surprised like the royals were when Khaled seized the throne. Some of us are planning, Lightsong, and you can join us if you wish. And he's like, no, I hate politics. And she's like, you're the god of bravery. We could use your confidence. And he's like, no, I will be completely useless to you. You'll have to stand for something eventually. You're a god to this people. And he says, not by choice. Which, that's fair. He did not pick this.
Yep, he was dead, and then he came back, and they're like, you're a god now. And he's like, really? Okay.
You don't have to accept a breath from a little kid every week. You pick that. But
yeah, that's true.
I mean, when the alternative is dying, then I can see why you would do that, even if you were like, I don't really want to be a god necessarily. And she's like, also, do you think I would offer myself to just anyone? He's like, well, yeah, pretty much. Come on, there must be at least 3 of the other gods I wouldn't think of letting touch me. And then she says, enjoy the party. Try to imagine what our king is doing to our legacy up there right now. Particularly if that imagining reminds you of what you just missed out on.
This lady's kind of icky.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Also,
that's the end of our section.
I know these gods are like, I guess they're still alive, but I don't know. There's something about this whole thing that like rubs me the wrong way as far as like in what sense are they alive? And it's like now are like dead people having sex because they've been reanimated by magic. Like, I don't know, it just seems not great.
When you put it that way, eek.
Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound great.
Yeah, magic zombie sex? No.
Oh, jeez.
On that
There's a
note,
shirt.
Yeah, let's move into predictions. What do you guys think? Where are we going now? We've gotten some little tastes of what Ciri's dealing with, of the politics between the kingdoms. That we've gotten kind of the other side of that perspective. So what do you guys think? What's going to happen?
Well, first of all, the shirt title should be "Just Say No to Magic Zombie Sex." Hey, so what do I got? Let's see. I don't know what's going on with the light song and the politics. I mean, that was kind of just introduced right there at the end. So, I mean, there's obviously still a lot of mystery surrounding these gods. My guess is maybe some of them quit being gods because they finally decide they're tired of taking children breath. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe some of them give away their breath in order and like sacrifice themselves for some reason. Maybe that's another way that they could be destroyed. Poor Ciri. Don't know what's going to happen there. Vasher, he's on a mission for something. We don't know what yet. He's probably the most interesting character to me so far, though. He's got the magic sword that talks to him in his mind. It makes me wonder, like, can the sword talk to other people? Can he only talk to Vasher? I'd be interested to know if like they have a connection that allows that to happen, or if the sword could literally talk to anyone. That'd be interesting. And then here's my goofy theory about the king. So they say, at least the priests are saying, that he had the right to be king because he's the most powerful returned because he was stillborn and then awoke, or not awoke, but whatever, returned. And so he's been a god since that time. Is that correct? Is that what they've intimated?
Yeah, I think that's the implication. Yeah.
So if the implication is that, I'm wondering, how do these returned people grow like into adults? And when do they stop growing? When do they stop aging? Like how does that work? But if it is true and they just grow to a some arbitrary age and then they stop growing and aging or whatever, or maybe that's how some of the return finally do die. They like get too old. But anyway, it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like they can live a really long time. Perhaps the king, because he basically was raised as the king from the time he was an infant, perhaps his education level is that of a small child, and he never developed past a certain point, which is why he's so apt to execute people when he gets annoyed with them. Perhaps the king has no idea how to have sex with Ciri and is confused and doesn't know what to do, so he's just sitting there being like, what do I do? That'd be interesting, kind of weird, kind of funny.
If you're not allowed to talk to him, I guess how would you teach him?
Right,
like,
exactly.
anything?
That's my point. Like, if nobody's allowed to say anything to him, and he doesn't really talk to people except to say kill that person, like, yeah, what is the depth of his education? Maybe he has special priests that are the only ones allowed to do those education. I don't know. But yeah, like what development level is this king at? That's what I'm wondering. It would be interesting if like this big bad king, which I kind of got the same sense that Jamie had mentioned before, that maybe he's not so bad, but maybe the only reason he is bad is because his education level is so low, and like maybe he will be like, look, you're my wife, right? I could confide in you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Can you help me? That'd be kind of fun, but I don't know if that'll actually be the case. But yeah, that's all I got this week. I think that'd be a weird turn for this book to take.
I do like the idea that if like he's emotionally immature, then that's the kind of person who would be like, yeah, execute that guy for talking to me. Screw him. How dare he speak?
Yeah.
So no, I can see that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you've never been given any rules because you're the God King, if you've never had to do anything that you didn't want to do, then you would probably grow to be a very spoiled person and not be very.
It reminds me of the Twilight Zone episode where the kid like can magic anything, and basically all of the people around him just cater to his every whim, or he'll turn them into like inanimate objects.
That's a good thing you did, Bart. A very good thing.
Very good thing.
Okay, so still pretty early in the book. Still thinking that there's something going on with the gods that we're not. I don't think even they know the full story. I mean, obviously they don't know what happened to them before they returned, but about what they can and can't do and what they are and are not allowed to do. I know it all just seems a bit fishy to me. So I've been thinking about the dream, and I am wondering if it's like it really is a prophecy. It's not so much he's just having a dream and they're interested in figuring out what it means and interpreting it and stuff, but perhaps he's seeing like the end of their kingdom. I think Vivenna maybe is the girl that he's seeing. So he's sort of like, is this someone from my past life? Like, was I married? All that sort of stuff. But I think when he meets her, maybe that will be like the catalyst for something else to happen. Like he maybe give a bit more stock to his dream. Because as far as we're aware, she's still on her way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how long that'll take her to get there. But I assume, well, I'm thinking that we're going to have another segment of the dream, which will maybe then piece some things together. Also really interested that someone had painted whatever he was dreaming. So there's got to be a link there. I feel like Light Song's maybe going to get out a little bit more to do some investigating of something. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how it will fall apart yet, or fall apart, come together, the opposite of fall apart. I don't really know how that will go yet, but I'm thinking sort of along those lines. Yeah, the God King, I despise him at the moment, even though we haven't really met him, because it is all really horrific, despite whether he's a big overgrown man-child or whatever he is, monster, I don't know. I was really hoping that it wouldn't be as bad as what she was expecting it to be, but I feel like maybe he is going to be as bad as they're expecting, which is terrible. Yeah, that's probably all that I've really got at the moment. I'd be really interested to learn more about some of the other gods. I think it's a bit early to be making heavy-hitting predictions, but I don't think it's going to be long probably before we get some more information. At first I thought Vasher was going to be like a good guy, but I don't know now. Nightblood's a bit of a rogue player there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his objective is at the moment. So I think we need a little bit more information about him too to figure out what his game is. I can't tell whether he's friend or foe at the moment. I think it would be interesting if he wasn't a friend, but I don't know. I don't know when they'll end up coming together.
That's a fair point. Yeah, and I guess the real question there actually is like a friend to or foe to who, because we establish here that like Ciri and Lightsong, who are two of our other main characters, they may not want the same things overall.
Yeah.
And who knows when Vivenna shows up, like what side of various things that she'll take. So
yeah, it's not exactly as simple as your one side or the other. You know, your enemy of your enemy is not necessarily your friend either. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how all the players come together. But yeah.
What if Vasher's a good guy but Nightblood's a bad guy? That's a weird friendship.
It is a weird friendship.
Vasher strikes me so far as like an anti-hero type.
Yeah.
Maybe on the D&D board he's like chaotic neutral or something.
I'm gonna go with that because I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know what that meant, so yeah, sure, why not? Okay. Yeah, no, you've pulled out some of what I agree are kind of the central questions at this point. So definitely things to be interested in as we progress.
So I feel like, yeah, I don't know how to read the God King. My initial thought was like, maybe like is there even a God King, or is there just a figurehead who like pretends to have all this power while like the small cadre of the returned gods sort of are the power behind the throne, and they just have a puppet. But I like Joe's idea that is actually just a stunted child mind sort of thing. I like that one more, honestly. I feel I want to make a prediction about Vasher. I think that he's ultimately responsible for putting the Halendrins in power. He had some sort of axe to grind with the Idrians, so he got rid of them, he led an insurrection against them, and now he's seeing what's actually happened with the Halendrins after they've taken over and realized, well, I fucked up. So now he's going to try and bring down their empire as a way of making up for that, I guess.
That would make him really old.
Yeah, but
okay.
Age doesn't seem to be it isn't always a factor in this
you're
universe.
Not wrong. Yep, you're good point.
Like you know, the two biggest magic systems we've seen, like in Elantris and Scadrial, have both had ways of extending your lifespan. So it's not a stretch to assume the magic system here can also do the same.
Yeah, in fact, I think it mentions in this section that it was like a lot of people get to like the first heightening and they stop there, and it gives you like 10 extra years on your life or something.
That's right, yeah. So, like, yeah, like some of the stuff Vasher has said, like, indicates like he's had the power, but he's lost it, or he's gained it back. Like when he killed Var in the prologue, like he's like, oh man, how did I ever live without this? So maybe he's just expended a whole bunch of his breaths and stuff to gain as much long life as he could, and it left him out of breath. And now he's just like, well, I need to get as much back because I got some fixing shit to do. So that's where I think that's going. The other prediction I had was for Nightblood.
Okay.
I think that I feel like just the fact that like Nightblood is a sword, but doesn't like to be reminded of that fact makes me think he wasn't always a sword. They have this whole thing about the returned and body and like like bodies coming back to life and everything. I think Nightblood's actually like sort of the opposite of that. He remembers his life before he was a human, but he was brought back in it's like something went wrong and he came back in the sword instead. And so like his powers of killing people is stuff like that's how he manifests his breath now, that he can like his powers that he's like, because that's the only body left to him, and he just kills people because like, I'm a sword, what else am I gonna do? Like I can't do anything else. I don't have hands. So yeah, I think Nightblood is returned who something went horribly wrong and he wound up in a sword instead of a human body.
Okay. I like both of these predictions. These are some big, bold predictions you're pulling out this time.
Yep. Volcanoes ahoy.
I'm trying to think. So I really like this idea that you've got for Vasher's purpose overall, where it's like he's got something to make up for because he started this, so he's going to try to fix it. How, in your mind, how does he fix the court?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like the obvious answer is burn it down and start over, but that might have been what he did to start with and didn't work out so well. So yeah, I don't know what his end game is. He's like the fact that he was really put off by an Idrian princess coming here sort of leans towards I'm gonna have to face up to that soon. But his goals ultimately haven't changed. So, but like as to what he's actually gonna do and how he's gonna fix things, I've got no clue at this point. We don't know enough about him really.
Right.
Other than he seems to be very much I want to work alone, which seems like the atoning kind of thing. Like it's his mess to clean up.
Just me and my sword. Yep.
Yeah. Me
and my annoying talking sword. Who's always just like, hey, we should kill these guys, right? Like, come on.
He's not as bad as Ruin in Zane's head, at least.
It's true. He's not kill him. Kill that guy. No, kill that guy over there. It's a good point.
He does talk about other things.
These are some good predictions we've got going for everybody this week. I like it. And that some of what you said even kind of dovetails with a couple of things that Joe was thinking last time. So
yeah,
you guys are building. I like it. Okay. Speaking of continuing here, I don't know that we were actually. I may have just made that up. For next time, we're gonna read 5 more chapters. That's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Remember, there will be no new episode next week, and these 5 chapters we will be doing without Joe. Sorry, Joe. Maybe he'll have time to like write down or record his thoughts real quick and send them. He's done that before.
Yeah, maybe so.
So 5 chapters for next time. Let's move into. We got a couple emails. We got a couple new patrons. So let's do emails first. The first one is from Isla, who we heard from not that long ago, actually. And she says, Lost Metal Thoughts and White Sands. Hi, DDJJ. Thanks for continuing to put out brilliant episodes. I've really enjoyed listening to everything you've released so far, and I gave you a 5-star review on Podcast Addict. See attached picture for proof. And then let me look at her review.
Oh.
Her review on Podcast Addict, she did send a picture. A fantastic, fun podcast with 4 people diving deep into Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. Every episode is full of laughter, crazy, and not so crazy hypotheses, and just a whole lot of good times. Data is a worthy host with a lot of Sanderson knowledge from outside the books themselves and drops in extra tidbits throughout.
What a nice review. Thank you for leaving said review. You are a coin shot.
Shot through the heart. I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind, but
Of all things.
Yeah.
I know, right? So yes, thank you. That is an awesome review. She goes on to say she has thoughts first on the Lost Metal. At first, I was frustrated by this book. From early on, I felt like Brandon had put a lot of effort into redeeming some of Wayne's more negative points, such as his monthly in-person visits to Alriandri, and cleaning up his character. I felt like it was too well telegraphed that Wayne was going to die, whereas in Hero of Ages, my favorite Mistborn book, Sazed as the hero came out of nowhere. Pause to say I don't know that I feel like you guys called Sazed relatively early on, and partly just because of how the epigraphs were phrased, where it's like, I am unfortunately the hero of ages or whatever. But it's been a while since we did those books. So she goes on, however, now that I've reread the book and had a good long think, I've realized that Wayne did some character growth in Bands of Mourning as well, where he gave up on Renette. While he did refuse to put himself in Alriandri's shoes for a long time, who of us can say that we don't do that sometimes? Additionally, while Wayne's death was fairly well signposted, most other aspects of the ending were pure Sanderlanche. I particularly liked Telson saying that if Wax was going to go to that boat, he would end up swimming in the bay. Which, yeah, he sure did end up in the bay. Fortunately, Hoyd was there. And then she says about White Sands.
Fortunately, Hoyd was there. That's a phrase I'm going to hang on to, and just like, I wonder if in the future we're going to like start saying, unfortunately, Hoyd was there.
I mean, I feel like there's already been times where it's kind of like, oh, what the hell is okay. Like the time he shows up and punches Kelsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, sexy drifters. He's at it again.
About White Sands, she says, it has been fairly easy for me to follow along with the graphic audio version, although, of course, there are some differences. Some of the characters and narration goes into long monologues to tell the listener all about the world, which would certainly not be in the graphic novel. Overall, I think they've done a good adaptation. Looking forward to Warbreaker, which is one of my favorites. So that was from Island. Thank you, Island. That was a fun one. Okay, so this one is hold on 1 second. I have to, before I read this one. Oh, geez, that's loud.
The hell was that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll explain.
Are we being soothed?
No, I'll explain. So
and, now Data's going to do his piano solo.
Yeah.
This one is titled "Thank You for an Amazing Podcast," and it is from Joao. It says, "Hi, Sanderlanche crew, Joao from Brazil here. Please do try to pronounce it. Here's a song to help, because I could not find a good short video." So they sent a link to a song, which I then opened to hear how it was pronounced in the song.
Wow, I should do that more often. It's like, if you're not sure how to pronounce this, here's a music clip.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the possibilities.
The song is called "Hey Joao," in case anyone wants to go out and find that.
Sure.
I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for the fantastic company you provided while I read the Mistborn series, plus Elantris and other stuff. I absolutely loved listening to your insane theories, especially yours, Dak, as I embarked on my first journey into the Cosmere. The podcast transformed this typically solitary activity into something incredibly social, and even inspired me to join an in-real-life book club in college.
Hey!
Yeah,
nice.
Right? That's cool. If I had to choose the best thing about your show, it would definitely be Jamie and Dak's accents, along with those adorable baby noises. Yes, I know I didn't have to.
Pick the day for that one.
Right.
Well, do we have a show for you?
We've gone from adorable baby noises to money, 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 money. Ariel's not in Aladdin. Less adorable when you've got it for 2 hours straight. And then forever. Yeah.
And then forever. Yeah, it's like mine just turned 4 and there's still a lot of daddy, this thing. Yes, okay. Daddy, that's the same thing I just said. Yes, I heard you the first time. It's okay.
Yep. Trying to unstack the dishwasher. It's like, Daddy, do some coloring. It's like, can you do it? No, Daddy, do it. Oh, okay.
Yep. Even when there's older siblings, it's like, I'm in the middle of cooking dinner. Can you get him some juice? No, I want Daddy to get the juice. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
So it goes on. Yes, I know I didn't have to choose the best thing about the show, and that I mentioned 2 best things, but I couldn't resist mentioning the cute baby. Unfortunately, I'll be taking a break from reading Sanderson for now, so I have no idea when I'll listen to you guys again. I need to finish the TMNT Ultimate Collection. Pause to be like, yes, I also have that, and I also have not gotten anywhere near finishing it, so I need to work on that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And make the most out of my 3-month Kindle Unlimited subscription. I also have the other 4 Dune books to read after Messiah, along with finishing Hellboy and catching up on some college material. I like how the college stuff is at the end of all the others.
Man,
All this really
my
awesome
reading list
stuff,
was-
and also, schoolwork.
So many books, so little time. I haven't started White Sand yet, so maybe you guys will finish Warbreaker by the time I return to the Cosmere. Anyway, I want to extend my gratitude once again for the effort you put into making this podcast. It has been a delight to listen to. P.S. I rated the show on Spotify. Hopefully that gets me into the Misting Crew, and they did include a 5-star clip from Spotify, which doesn't let you leave a review, just the rating.
Right. Yeah, 5-star review. You done did it. It's fine. Since we gave out a coin shot, why don't you just be the opposite? You're a lurcher.
Nice. So whenever eventually you do listen to this, Joao, there you go. It may be a while, but it's there for you. We also have 2 new patrons this week at they're both at the ska level. First is Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, let me pull out my handy dandy fairing list. Ooh, Jacqueline, you will be a century. You store wakefulness.
Nice.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then we have Sean.
Sean, you'll be a subsumer. You store energy.
There you go. Thank you guys for joining the Patreon. In fact, we're about to get into something. If you want to send us an email like Joao and Isla did, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon, where I'm in the middle of posting my first read-through of the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England and my reactions as I read that. We will also, by the time this episode comes out, it should already be up on the Patreon. We will have put up the special production starring Joe and Dak of the Possum Hunters. So,
I know it's been a long time coming, guys, and here it is.
So at Joe's suggestion here, what we're going to do is give you guys a 30-second preview of the sort of thing that you'll be hearing in the Possum Hunters, which I think came out to like around 20 minutes, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, that was the goal, to make it about 20 minutes, and I think we pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, I think it ended up really close to that. So here's a quick clip of that so that you can see if that's the kind of thing you're interested in and you want to join the Patreon, or you can be like, wow, that I don't want to listen to that at all. And then you don't have to worry about the Patreon unless you want to hear me talk to myself for long periods of time, which I don't even want to do that. So, here you go.
Well, Pa, what song should we sing for this job? We got about 12 critters, so I guess we can just use the old ska eating song. What do you think?
Could do. That or one of the Colos drinking songs. Nah, ska eating it is. When you're right, son number 1. Well, I know a man with great big pearls.
Biggest pearls in the world.
A noble man with loved all ska girls.
Yes, he loved them all with his great big pearls.
Wow, what a great clip that was, Data.
Yep. Yeah, that sure is a great clip that I haven't, at the point we're recording this, chosen what 30 seconds to use.
Sure you did. We know what the clip just played. We're absolutely certain that was a clip that will definitely make you want to go listen. The Data and I made an intro for the show requesting your feedback on said Possum Hunters episode, because really we don't want to make this creative leap in the Patreon without getting good feedback. If you guys who are already Patreon subscribers, you go out and you listen to Possum Hunters, you're like, nah, it's not for me, I don't like this at all, please let us know. We don't want to keep making something that you guys who were so generous to support us don't want to hear.
So yeah, that's I think that's all we got for today. Music by Miracle of Sound, 5 chapters for next time, which I will remind again, we will not have a new episode next week. It will be the week after that when you will hear the next 5 chapters, and then we may have to skip another one for next month. We're gonna have to talk about that because I'm gonna be gone at the end of June. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to all our supporters on the Patreon, everyone who's leaving us comments, sending emails. You guys are all awesome. If you're interested in joining the Discord, where lots of fun and sometimes disturbing conversations happen, feel free to head out to our website, and there is a link at the top to join the Discord. We recently added a not safe for work Cosmere discussion channel because
Oh God,
yeah, things were getting a little weird at times. So that's the kind of thing you can get if you join the Sanderlanche Discord. Beware.
Take caution.
5 chapters week after next, and wasing to the time of next. Colo?